Groups coming and going in K-pop is an extremely common occurrence. However, some have definitely had a bigger impact than others, and seeing beloved names go through negligence might be one of the worst pains as a K-pop fan. The story of RIIZE is quickly becoming one of the more striking examples in recent K-pop history of how wasted potential and mismanaged controversy can derail a group that seemed perfectly fabricated for stardom. RIIZE in particular had an extremely fresh and promising concept with what looked to be a global strategy. The success of the group even started before their official debut, as the marketing was one of a kind and engaging enough for many people to already see their potential. However, what was initially a very ambitious pre-debut build-up has truly unraveled into an ongoing case study in how not to manage idol group controversies, with many netizens now pointing their finger at SM Entertainment for letting the group fall through the cracks. Their troubles began when Chungha, one of the original members, became the center of controversy after pre-debut images and videos surfaced online in late 2023. Many Korean fans in particular had huge issues with the nature of the images, as he was seemingly dating a girl in the past, which is still an extremely taboo topic in K-pop environments. Despite the controversy not being criminal or deeply scandalous in nature, in the eyes of a highly perfectionist K-pop fandom, particularly the Korean domestic fan base, they were enough to demand consequences. And on a very large scale at that, as many acted like Sunghan had truly committed a crime. SM Entertainment responded initially by pulling Sunghan from public schedules, and over the next several months, the group carried on without him. Many fans hoped this was temporary, with many truly believing that Sunghan would return after the fire died down. And for a moment, it seemed like he would, as just a day before his official removal from the group, SM Entertainment announced that Sunghan would soon rejoin group schedules. Then, in a baffling and abrupt reversal, his permanent departure from RIIZE was confirmed, as the backlash had been too big for the company to handle. Those against him being welcomed back even went as far as to send funeral wreaths to the doorstep of the company building, which is seen as the highest form of protest. The emotional whiplash among fans was immediate and devastating, as most global fans couldn't comprehend how fast things had gone wrong yet again. Seeing how the situation was handled, many fans of the group actually felt like it was a public betrayal and like a spit in the face to those who SM was supposedly trying to reach with RIIZE's initial concept. What followed was the beginning of a full-scale boycott. Global fans, many of whom had supported RIIZE since their pre-debut era, rallied in protest by unfollowing the group on social media, canceling pre-orders, and vowing to disengage from all content related to RIIZE. This wasn't just a few angry tweets either, as it turned into a fully organized strategic movement. It also spread very far beyond the internet sphere, as album suppliers across North America, Europe, and Asia began announcing that they would not restock RIIZE merchandise. Major retailers like Sub K Shop, EVEPINK, and Light Up K publicly confirmed their decision to stop ordering new stock, and smaller retailers followed suit, making this perhaps one of the most successful boycotts in K-pop history. This financial arm of the boycott was particularly telling. In K-pop, brand power is currency, and RIIZE's was beginning to plummet. According to the Korea Brand Reputation Research Institute, RIIZE had maintained high rankings on their monthly list well into 2024. But following Sunghan's departure, the group dropped more than 20 spots, landing at 35 in the most recent rankings. That kind of freefall is hard to ignore, especially for a group that was being shaped to be one of SM's next-generation flagships. Many fans and commentators had warned SM Entertainment of this exact scenario. From the beginning of Sunghan's hiatus, online communities urged SM to handle the situation carefully, but instead of finding a way to rehabilitate his image or reintegrate him respectfully, the company chose to drag out his absence with unclear messaging, only to ultimately cut him loose. It left a bitter taste, especially for international fans who felt that SM had caved entirely to the loudest voices in the Korean superfan community, voices that don't necessarily reflect the entire fan base. In the case of RIIZE, it seems like SM's choice to side with the more conservative, critical domestic fandom was in the hope of avoiding backlash at home, something which is often prioritized when it comes to scandals in the K-pop sphere. But this short-sighted loyalty only alienated the group's wider global fan base, the very demographic that K-pop companies are supposedly trying to reach. At this point, many fans started to speculate that Sunghan might not have been the whole reason behind the group's decline, but that the management played just as big of a role. Many believe SM could have navigated the controversy by being more transparent, issuing a clear timeline, and focusing on his rehabilitation. Instead, they turned the situation into a long, drawn-out PR disaster, filled with mixed signals and ultimately an outcome that satisfied no one. And now, RIIZE and their brand seem to be paying the biggest price, as it's starting to look like the group is no longer the rising star it once was. Their identity as a group is now eternally firmly entangled with this scandal, and even those who support the remaining members find it difficult to separate the music from the mess created by the controversy. Worse still, the group has seemingly lost its momentum, which is next to impossible to come back from in the industry, especially as the members themselves have never quite been the same after Soonghan was taken from them, as their own protests were seemingly equally ignored. It's a striking fall from grace, especially considering how carefully RIIZE was marketed before its debut, and with Soonghan playing a key part in that appeal, his sudden removal and the chaos that followed shattered the carefree and tight-knit illusion, making it impossible for many fans to return with the same level of enthusiasm. While the initial uproar over his removal has somewhat settled, the larger consequences of SM Entertainment's decision continue to ripple through the fandom, and many fans now speculate that the group has reached a stopping point. As one commenter plainly put it, "I always felt like SM wasn't sure what they wanted RIIZE to be, but it feels doubly evident now." That sentiment has become increasingly common after fans have had to deal with what has basically been an 8-month break from the members sans a short single promotion, which hasn't been helping their brand considering how early they are in their career. Many consider this time to be of extreme importance, especially after what feels like a complete group overhaul. Public opinion seems to be that the group should have been focused on trying to build a more stable fan base and a stronger group identity through that time, which is why it feels like complete carelessness from their company. Instead, fans were met with what some described as PR stunts, like overly visible street filming sessions and vague teaser rollouts that ultimately did nothing for their popularity or actual brand. Beyond some weak marketing attempts, the more painful observation is that the group itself no longer feels like a group. RIIZE's early appeal was built on social media engagement, relaxed friend-of-a-friend energy, and youthful authenticity, which has now completely vanished, replaced by professional-grade posts and inconsistent concepts. One fan even went as far as claiming that the group's concept didn't seem long-lasting to start with, saying, "I mean, RIIZE was never supposed to actually exist, and you can tell. Their entire concept was basically just cool vibes. They were supposed to be dudes you'd want to be friends with, and it worked at first. But now, even that energy is gone, and along with it, the sense that the group represents anything cohesive at all." This shift has also had creative consequences, as the group's music doesn't seem to be carrying the spark that made their debut track stand out. Fans who once praised the sonic direction of Get a Guitar or Memories now feel the newer material, like Hug, lacks identity. Their newest song proves this even more. It's just NCT Light. If the company is truly relying on sounds and concepts that are predicted to be popular based on other popular sounds, then it truly feels like they might have thrown in the towel when it comes to RIIZE's initial originality. As one fan pointed out, "It's not just that they are weaker, it's that SM used to pick songs that were suitable for the group's members, but now they seem to be picking songs for maximum popularity and leaving the members to figure it out." Vocally too, the cracks are showing, as some netizens have pointed out that after Soonghan's departure, the group has only been left with very few trained vocalists, leading to many feeling like something is missing from their music. That absence has put added pressure on the remaining vocalists, and fans are even comparing this to other groups that have long been known to have issues with only having one vocalist carrying the entire group and ultimately throwing off the balance. Others pointed out how in previous SM generations, there was at least a developmental period for many idols, as members weren't given many lines until they were ready, allowing for growth without exposing any weaknesses. But under the newer SM structure, that patience seems gone, as weaker voices now have to step up and fill in the empty spots in Soonghan's absence, with fans even claiming that this is unfair even to the members, as one of them wrote, "They haven't actually improved as vocalists, but are being made to sing lines in songs like Hug." The perceived lack of artistic direction and absence of structure and vocal arrangement have fans speculating whether SM even knows what it wants from RIIZE anymore. However, as the group drifts through this ambiguous phase, something unexpected has captured the attention of fans with the return of Soonghan, this time as a soloist under the name Soonghan. His upcoming project, Soonghan in Seoul, set to debut in July 2025, has sparked massive interest, as fans were quick to note how eerily similar his new aesthetic RIIZE's original vibe. One fan wrote, "He single-handedly brings back RIIZE's pre-debut concept," with others even going as far as to say, "His concept is more RIIZE than RIIZE." Seeing this, more and more netizens have pointed out that the company could truly have been the problem all along, as it's clear that Soonghan has managed to preserve the heart of what fans loved about RIIZE, even while standing alone. His teaser images, clean, nostalgic, and youthful, resonate strongly with the same everyday cool charm RIIZE originally built its brand on. Ironically, his solo debut is now being seen as the rightful continuation of what the group once once was, and is even proving to be extremely successful across multiple K-pop fan bases. This only goes to show that having a strong identity is such an important part of the idol life, and SM cutting back on what really made RIIZE known was never the right move. Seeing this success also had many non-fans questioning what SM was trying to do with RIIZE in the first place, as things had no reason to change this much, even with one less member. Many claim that the group no longer seems to be making the same type of noise, even with their highly anticipated first album after the unofficial hiatus. A user wrote, "I genuinely had no idea they were having a comeback until yesterday, and knowing SM, instead of fixing these problems, they'll just debut a new boy group. It's tiresome, and after all they've been through, RIIZE deserves better." At the end of the day, the problem isn't that RIIZE is struggling, it's that their struggles feel like they could have been completely avoidable if SM Entertainment had made an effort to push them like they had before. However, it's also clear that things could never truly be the same, seeing how the company had alienated such a huge part of their fan base. It's also hard not to think of all the what-ifs surrounding the Soonghan incident, but even despite not being able to change the past, it seems like the company hasn't even attempted to give the group a proper refresh or tried to give the remaining members a proper fighting chance. Despite the idols themselves truly trying their best, it seems like these situations always end up in the arms of companies who truly should have done better in order to ensure the success they had promised. What do you think about this issue? Share your opinions down below in the comment section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more K-pop stories. And while RIIZE's story is still unfolding, another soloist has been waiting far too long for her moment. From being a legendary JYP trainee who almost made it to the official TWICE lineup, later winning Produce 101 and becoming the center of IOI, to gaining mainstream recognition after debuting solo, it seems like Somi has done it all. So what is stopping her from becoming the megastar she definitely has the talent to be? Somi started her K-pop career in 2014 when she auditioned for JYP Entertainment with the song Lonely by 21. She was a big fan of the group, and her admiration for Pakbom made her want to become a K-pop idol. She got into JYP as a trainee, and a year later in 2015, the whole world got to see her shine as she participated in the survival show 16 among other JYP trainees. JYP was set to debut a new girl group out of the final lineup, and Somi was one of the stars of the show. She almost made it to the lineup, only to be eliminated in the final round. Park Jin-young himself highlighted her performances, saying that she had star quality but lacked preparation. Somi was 14 at that time, and looking back, she partly agreed with JYP. "I got to the end of 16 and was eliminated. I think it was because my dance skills are quite lacking." The group that ended up being formed in the show is now known as TWICE. To this day, many people wonder if Somi got to showcase her stardom potential while being a member of TWICE. While TWICE is one of the biggest groups in K-pop, Somi herself is an all-rounder that seems to be shining better as a soloist rather than being just a part of a group. Participating in 16 helped Somi to gain attention even as a trainee and build a pre-debut fan base. This fan base would only grow as Somi would go on to participate in Mnet's survival show Produce 101, where she was representing JYP Entertainment. And if people didn't realize the power of Somi in 16, they definitely understood it while watching Produce 101. Somi was a force to be reckoned with as she outdanced, outsang, and outperformed all 101 contestants. Somi's fan base and stardom grew as audiences of the show became obsessed with her. A combination of those brought Somi to the absolute top in the show, as she ended up in first place with a shocking number of 858,333 votes. That made her the center of the group IOI. Somi and IOI continued to promote and soar higher until their disbandment in 2017. IOI is still iconic even years after its disbandment, as people still say that they are the best group to come out of survival shows. After the final day of the group, Somi went back to being a JYP trainee with a fan base and recognition she already got from being one of the stars of the show and the project group. That made everyone anticipate her debut. Somi was only 16 at that time, so she had plenty of time to perfect what she needed for her successful debut. It was around the same time as whispers about the new JYP girl group started floating around, with many people wondering if Somi would be a part of the group. However, the shocking news came in 2018 as Somi came to a mutual agreement and parted ways with JYP Entertainment. In February 2019, the company ended up debuting the group that we now know as ITZY. However, some people found ITZY pre-debut pictures that had Somi listed as an ITZY member, along with Ryujin, Taedong, Yeji, and Leah. Another pre-debut picture of the ITZY ensemble going to the TWICE concert shows Somi with the 4 members. members. So it seems like when Somi left the company, JYP replaced her with Yoona. And there was no doubt that Park Jin-young made the right choice, as the final ITZY lineup works perfectly. But this also had people wondering what would happen if Somi, with all her post-Produce 101 fame, became a part of ITZY. Netizens think that she would fit the concept, but probably would have outshined all the other members and the group would have been called Somi and Friends. As JYP already went through this with Miss A when Suzy skyrocketed to fame apart from her group, not having Somi in the final lineup was a good decision. People were paying attention to Somi's next steps since everyone already knew how talented she was and how legendary her debut was going to be. It's a shame that she left a company so big and popular like JYP, as people thought that she really fit the JYP idol look to a T. So when an interviewer asked Somi why she left the company, she answered, "After IOI disbanded, I was not active for a long time. It's true that going back to the trainee life and not immediately following up the success of IOI was a fatal mistake. Somi was in her prime, but it seems like JYP didn't fully grasp how much attention Somi had on her after Produce 101 and IOI. The reason why she left went deeper, which Somi touched on in another interview. We had different directions in terms of music. There were many discussions that took place between us around the time I was leaving. There was no conflict between us. Her fans were ready to stand by her side, and their excitement only grew as Somi would go on to sign with YG Entertainment's subsidiary company, the Black Label. Many were wondering why Somi chose Black Label compared to all other entertainment giants, and Somi revealed that it was the founder of the label himself, Teddy, who wanted her in. She has excitedly agreed as someone who has looked up to 21 and Big Bang since she was a kid. Somi recalls the delight of her decision. "Producer Teddy called me to come to the Black Label, and I couldn't believe it. When I met him, he had so much passion in explaining all the opportunities he saw in me. I felt sincerity through his eyes and knew I could trust my future with his decision." While YG had some amazing artists under their belt, the Black Label had only a handful of artists, and at that time, they didn't have any trainees. This is why Somi came in, and for the first time, she was set to debut solo and not in a group. It was a big change for Somi, but she said that she has never regretted her decision to change labels. In a reality show called I Am Somi, narrated by Somi herself, she mentioned how nice Teddy was to her during the initial meeting and how he described all the plans that he had for her. Somi revealed how touched she was knowing that there was someone who was thinking of her that way. Teddy at least knew what he was working with and probably saw the potential and talent Somi had. She is never holding back her admiration for Teddy and often speaks about him in interviews as one of her biggest inspirations. Teddy is without a doubt the most successful songwriting and composing figure in K-pop, period. When I first saw him, it was like seeing a unicorn up close. I was in awe because growing up, I used to listen to his music and dream of becoming a singer. YG artists always had that special YG prestige around them, and Somi's fans hoped that her upcoming project would have exactly that. She signed a contract with the label in September 2018 and finally made her shining debut in July 2019 with the song Birthday. The song was a hit and it satisfied her fans who had been asking for her debut for 2 years by then. After that, she came back with What You're Waiting For, which earned Somi her first win on Mnet's M Countdown. But we still weren't getting the superstar Somi everyone knew that she could be. The true star power only arrived when Somi came back with Dum Dum in August of 2021. Dum Dum was Somi's best performing single, charting well, and even her Dum Dum challenge on TikTok went viral. In October 2021, she dropped her first full-length album called XOXO, which sold over 55,000 copies in its first month. Everything was finally coming together for Somi. She finally debuted and people listened to her music. Yet Somi wasn't exactly reaching that predicted level of fame that people spoke about in 2017. And what's worse, Somi hasn't released any new music since October 2021. Her fans are sad that Somi isn't hinting at any comeback and spent the whole of 2022 doing different advertisements and endorsements. Even on her TikTok, she's mostly seen doing dances and silly videos rather than informing on any potential music or any upcoming schedule of hers. Somi's biggest solo schedule in 2022 was doing an MC at the MAMA Awards, which seems just sad at this point. The Black Label is known for giving their artists freedom, and Somi is known for not only being an amazing singer and performer, but also an incredible songwriter who gets to write her own songs. She spoke about writing the lyrics in English first and then changing it to Korean, and that takes a long time to perfect, therefore creating a longer pause between comebacks. But Somi is a perfectionist and isn't putting out any music that she isn't happy with. There are probably another number of reasons why things aren't going so well for Somi as people have predicted, but the long hiatus definitely plays into the cards here. Fans really hoped that she would have been able to share more of her music when she signed under the Black Label. However, YG is known for their infamously long hiatuses, and Somi's career seems to be no different. In October 2022, the singer had a V-Live where she chatted with her fans. One fan commented, "Looking forward to your next comeback." To that, Somi answered, I hope I have a comeback." Her sad expression was clearly speaking how upset she is about not being able to release new music. Somi hasn't done that for over a year, and people are starting to worry about YG wasting her potential even more. She truly could have had her moment now, as the Black label has all the attention on them due to signing both Taeyong and actor Park Bo-gum, with the rumors of BLACKPINK moving to the subsidiary as well after their contracts expire. The label could use this attention to push Somi into the spotlight, and the public could truly see the stardom factor Somi definitely still has. And if that felt like a missed opportunity, wait until we talk about one of the biggest names in K-pop. For how long BLACKPINK have been a group, their discography is very small compared to other K-pop idols. The group will celebrate their 7th anniversary in August this year, but they have only released 2 studio albums so far. Now it leaves us wondering, what happened to all the lost music of the group that never got released? Despite BLACKPINK being the most popular and influential girl group right now, all of their songs make up about 2 hours of listening time. Unfortunately, their fans have to wait a long time for each comeback, and understandably, it makes them angry. The situation got pretty bad at the beginning of 2022 when Blinks took to Twitter to trend "We want BLACKPINK comeback now," as it was coming up on 2 years of no music since their comeback and collab Ice Cream with Selena Gomez, which was released in August of 2020. At that time, the fans' concerns grew even more because YG announced that they would be releasing new BLACKPINK merch instead of an album. Various hashtags flooded Twitter completely, and they trended globally with over 300,000 tweets, proving just how badly their fans wanted some new music. Their fans were worried because the end of their contract with YG was coming to an end, and it raised suspicions if the members would even renew or not. Although Lisa's and Rosé's solo comebacks were released in 2021, and BLACKPINK also came out with their own movie, there was no group comeback that year, and if compared to how many comebacks other artists have in a year, it's definitely suspicious. There were rumors going around that BLACKPINK would release a repackaged album of their 2020 album called The Album, but that never happened. Even though it would have just been a repackaged album, their fans still got their hopes up, only to be let down again when more time passed without any new music. Blinks did get at least one new song in 2021, which later appeared in their second album. Somehow Blinks managed to leak Ready to Love, which was previously released through short snippets in their documentary. Even though Ready to Love was later released, some of the BLACKPINK songs or demos are still staying somewhere in the YG vault. A TikTok posted by the account blink.4bp showed some of the unreleased songs, and a lot of people wondered why they were never released. For example, Madison Love made a song for BLACKPINK called Come Alive, and once fans got a hold of that song in 2021, they didn't hesitate to express their disappointment that the song wasn't released. Honestly, the demo sounds so good, and BLACKPINK would absolutely nail that song if they were given the chance. Then there's the song Touchdown, which was made for the YG trainees. At one point in 2021, there were rumors that this song would be the next BLACKPINK comeback after the producer of the song, Lil 27 Club, shared a part of that song on his Instagram. Another song called Too Late was recorded by Jennie and Rosé before their debut. The original version is in English, and the English name is Two-Faced. The song did end up making its way out of the YG vault, but definitely not for BLACKPINK. Jennifer Zhao, Chinese Idol, played the English version during a live stream. Jennifer's company bought the rights to produce this song in Chinese for the show The Unit, where Jennifer participated. Somewhere there's also the demo version for Lovesick Girls, which was previously titled Lonely Girls, and the lyrics actually make more sense than the official version. In March of 2022, Somi accidentally leaked what could possibly be an unreleased BLACKPINK song. Somi decided to hold a live stream on her Instagram, and there she visited the studio at her agency, The Black Label, which is YG's subsidiary. A song was blasted through the studio, and it quite literally took the internet by storm, mainly because the voice on that song sounded exactly like Jennie's. The fans were quick to spread the audio, which contained the lyric, "No, you can't take me down," all across social media. Unfortunately, YG was fast to take down every video that contained the leaked audio, even Somi's Instagram live. Then, after BLACKPINK released Pink Venom, Blinks quickly noticed that it was actually a part of the song. They did change it a little from the leaked audio, and in the official song, Rosé is now singing in Korean. BLACKPINK's infrequent comebacks and sparse discography have become a hot topic on forums like Reddit and Quora. In a Reddit post about why there was no music from BLACKPINK in 2021, someone replied that YG has decided to use the marketing method of high demand and low supply. Although it sounds insane to intentionally deprive fans of new music from their favorite artist, it does work. When BLACKPINK released their second album Born Pink in 2022, it recorded recorded immense success, and even granted them 2 Guinness World Records and was also certified as double million by KMCA. The album skyrocketed to the top of numerous charts, and the success of this album and of the songs previously released go hand in hand with what RIIZE said in 2020. In an interview with Zane Lowe, the members talked about the preparation for the album. Since the girls shared that they spent a lot of time in the studio, Zayn naturally assumed that BLACKPINK was gearing up to release a lot of songs. Yet RIIZE denied that and said that the group has always been focused on quality instead of quantity. RIIZE explained, "I don't think being in the studio every single day creates more songs. I think it just creates more quality songs." In 2020, BLACKPINK had less than 20 songs, including collabs and B-sides. In comparison, TWICE released around 90 songs in their first 4 years. In September of 2022, netizens jokingly discussed that BLACKPINK's total discography 6 years into their career almost equals the number of songs in just one Taylor Swift album. One netizen commented, "Their upcoming album has around 8 tracks, but I think the number of tracks included in their comeback albums are always too few. They should have at least 10 tracks." Another netizen said, "I used to feel upset about this, but seeing the way they're promoted as mysterious superstars, it all matches up." Under the All K-pop article, one fan said that some of the BLACKPINK fans are so eager to listen to new music from the group that they'll enjoy even the songs that aren't as good. This circles back to YG's obvious strategy of high demand and low supply. It seems like the company has been using this method since BLACKPINK's early days, and unfortunately, it's working. Because BLACKPINK usually goes so long between comebacks, their fans are always incredibly excited and eager to support the group, which then reflects in BLACKPINK's achievements. But the feeling of excitement and anticipation isn't always the case for everyone. Because of the severe lack of comebacks and promotions, many fans have admitted that they lost interest in BLACKPINK simply because they weren't releasing music. Even though the fans were kind of used to waiting for new BLACKPINK music, it's gone to the point where some of them haven't even been able to enjoy supporting the group that they once loved so much. One Blink shared a post on Reddit where they confessed that they were struggling to be interested in BLACKPINK's projects. They wrote, "With all the rumors about the comeback I've been reading, I was surprised that I really didn't care anymore. I feel like I've just moved on." Losing interest in a group that's been focusing more on other side projects rather than music is completely understandable. We can say that BLACKPINK will hopefully start releasing more music, but YG knows exactly what they're doing and knows that fans will enjoy even the bare minimum that they're given. At least we can say for sure that Jisoo's first solo is coming. On February 21st of 2023, YG Entertainment confirmed that Jisoo is in the middle of filming for her debut solo music video and even stated that it has the highest production cost ever. It seems like Jisoo is really working hard for her debut album, as there are rumors that she decided to re-record her solo album to bring it to perfection. The video being filmed overseas is said to maximize Jisoo's charms, as it will be her debut as a solo artist. A new solo comeback for Jennie could possibly happen in the future as well. During the Born Pink tour, Jennie performed a previously unreleased song called You and Me, and immediately blew everyone away with her dance, vocals, but also the chemistry between her and the male dancer. Jennie commented on the song and said, "I did the recording about 3 to 4 years ago. I think it was on the list of nominees for my solo, or maybe it was after that. It was in the closet for a while." To say that everyone is upset at BLACKPINK's small discography would be unfair towards those who actually don't mind it. A post on Reddit called out those people who seem to be almost obsessed with the amount of songs BLACKPINK have and called it a skewed way to measure the girls' activities. The OP detailed how the majority of the posts who slam BLACKPINK for having so little songs tend to ignore the solo activities that the members have. For example, like RIIZE's and Lisa's solo debut, or Jisoo acting in Snowdrop. The OP said, "It's a known fact that all YG artists, from Big Bang to Treasure, are very tour-oriented acts. They have always prioritized concerts over constant releases." As proof, the OP mentioned that BLACKPINK's had way more shows than TWICE, even though TWICE have a broader discography. The OP wrote, "Amount of songs is also a weird statistic in general, since 99% of listeners don't listen to more than 10 songs from the same group on a regular basis." A lot of people agreed with the OP, but did mention that if BLACKPINK had a more diverse discography, it would bring their already great shows to a new level. But once again, it seems that whatever YG is doing is completely intentional. No matter how many unreleased songs there are, BLACKPINK are always going to do great whenever they have a comeback. Be it for their patient fans or the shock that they finally have a comeback again, BLACKPINK's success isn't going to slow down anytime soon. But on the opposite end of fame, one new group is already showing signs of being mishandled. KATSEYE isn't the first group to deal with internal issues, and they definitely won't be the last. However, they're one of the few whose struggles were aired in an 8-episode Netflix documentary for the world to see. Whether it was members missing practices or accusations of favoritism and discrimination, here's the problem with KATSEYE. In February 2021, HYBE partnered with UMG's Geffen Records to create the first US-based global girl group modeled after the K-pop training system. They recruited trainees from around the world, placing them in dorms where they underwent intense K-pop style training. Just like in Korea, these trainees spent 9 hours a day in classes, practiced late into the night, and faced monthly evaluations that determined whether they could stay or be sent home, eventually leading to their participation in the Dream Academy survival show. The 6 trainees that made it in the end debuted as KATSEYE, and all seemed fine. However, everything changed when Netflix released the Pop Star Academy documentary, highlighting the intense challenges trainees faced, the demanding training, grueling schedules, and fierce competition among members. In fact, it was the rivalry between them that really caught everyone's attention. The animosity between the trainees seemed to have started early on when member Manon first joined them. The first sign of a problem came when it was revealed that Manon wasn't living in the dorms with the rest of the girls anymore. According to the documentary, she was living with them initially, but there were some issues with her missing classes and curfew because she thought having meals with her family was more important. This led to her moving out of the dorm and into her aunt's place. Aside from the living situation, there was another problem. Manon had no experience as a performer before HYBE contacted her. She didn't know the basics of singing and dancing, and since she joined late, she was noticeably behind the others in terms of skills, which continuously showed on her rankings. But even though she wasn't a match for the others at that point, she undeniably had the it factor that many agencies look for, so it's understandable why HYBE was so set on keeping her. Fans might want the industry to be all about talent, but the truth is that this is not their top priority. So if a company spots a trainee with star potential, they will keep training them to reach their standards rather than just giving up on them. That seemed to be the case with Manon too. She didn't train as long as the others, but HYBE handled that by arranging personal trainers for her and sending them to Switzerland to help her improve her skills before she headed to Los Angeles. It's evident that they wanted to have her in the group, and the other girls might have noticed. Another thing that Manon seemingly needed to improve was her work ethic. When she signed up to be a HYBE and Geffen Records trainee, in addition to lack of professional training, Manon also didn't know how the K-pop training system worked and how intense it was. Initially, she didn't take it as seriously as she should have, even admitting that she treated it more like school, where she could skip days if she felt unwell or not up to it. There was also the fact that she had COVID at the time, so she didn't show up to practice sometimes, which had the other girls questioning her commitment to this. Not only was she not putting in the same amount of work and dedication as the others, but she was also messing up their teamwork to the point that they had to learn 2 choreographies in case she didn't show up. Considering that they were going to debut as a group, they felt like she was selfish or that she didn't deserve to be there with the rest of them when, in their opinion, she hadn't worked as hard. Even the program manager Missy called Manon arrogant and said that her attitude was why she shouldn't be added to the group. So her absence seemed to have been the biggest problem the girls had with her, and they expressed it to her and other people whenever they could. For example, despite her absence, she came in 4th due to the public votes, and Adela, one of the most beloved trainees amongst the girls and the staff, came in last and was even eliminated because of this. This shocked everyone because Adela had especially put in a lot of hard work since the project started. Lara, who debuted with KATSEYE, especially expressed shock at seeing Adela at number 20 after witnessing the judges constantly rank her highly. While this was normal, some people didn't appreciate the fact that she added, "Then to see people who don't show up be at the top, it's just stupid. It's not based on how talented you are or like things that actually matter, it's based on how pretty you are." Then, in a private discussion with Dr. Wetter, the program's psychologist, it also became clear that the other girls, especially Adela, were frustrated with Manon's frequent absences. She talked about how Manon was getting a lot of attention despite not showing up for the team, concluding that the support the fans were showing for her was just because she was pretty and nothing else. Adela seemingly wasn't the only one to behave this way. There were also times when Manon returned to practice and overheard the girls whispering and laughing behind her back as she walked in, which, to some people, felt like mean girl behavior. Additionally, there is a part in episode 7 in which Adela and Naisha are seen at the beach after their elimination. Adela still mentions Manon, drawing comparisons between them. She says she and Naisha were passionate about the whole thing, while Manon didn't show up when they did. Adela says she breaks the rules and she doesn't get penalized for it. Like, now it's being completely ignored. It's surprising because we naively thought something else. To some, it was unnecessary for the producers to even show Adela and Naisha after being eliminated, when some trainees who actually made it into the group, like Yeonchae, received minimal screen time. A Twitter user posted, "The documentary should have been about how the girls' relationship started and how their bond grew, as well as the difficulty of debuting and being in a girl group in general. Instead, we have eliminated contestants crying about Manon." Seeing the girls having disagreements with each other to the point of holding grudges even after elimination, the viewers understood that this was the nature of the competition and that arguments were bound to happen. Still, they were confused about why this energy was only directed towards Manon. On the one hand, they understood that it must be frustrating for the girls to show up early to practice every day, stay overtime, always come in first in rankings, and then have another girl come in, not put in the same effort, and still get favored by the fans. Manon kept missing practice, jeopardizing their team in a survival competition where the winning group gained immunity. Without her, their chances of performing well were reduced, and it was valid for them to feel that way. On the other hand, people agreed that the girls went about it the wrong way. First, they argued that Manon was wrong for missing practice, but this was probably due to cultural differences. Since Manon is from Switzerland, a country whose work culture prioritizes its workers' mental and physical health, she probably thought it was okay to skip practice if she wasn't feeling okay or if she wanted to have a meal with her family members. This doesn't align with practices or the work culture scene in South Korea and the US, where it's heavily discouraged not to make work your priority. From this, we can understand why Manon thought her actions were okay and not a big deal, and why the others immediately labeled her as lazy and criticized her for not putting in any effort. Second, Adela's apparent anger towards her felt more misplaced than anything. Manon wasn't the only member who ranked higher than her, but wasn't on the same skill level as the others. A commenter brought up Yua as an example, who was seen struggling with vocals, yet she ranked in the 13th place. They went on to say, "It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you aren't able to attract stans, then why would they add you to the group? The people who are sending in votes are the people you know who will be willing to commit to buying albums and merch and supporting all your brand deals." In addition, it was brought up that the judges had mentioned that Adela wouldn't fit the group image because if they thought she was crucial to them, they wouldn't eliminate her after one round. It was also concluded that Manon behaved a lot more maturely than others as the one who took the higher road and took the initiative to resolve the conflict with them. She told Missy that she wanted to talk to the others, and when they gathered together in the practice room, Manon expressed that she felt frustrated with the situation. She explained that while she was aware that she had been missing practice, the other girls had done it too, and yet it was only taken out on her. When she asked the girls about their perspectives, Sophia said that the whole point of the program was discipline and hard work, being mindful, and things like taking notes and paying attention. Manon argued against this, reminding them that she had been taking notes, which was shown a few episodes back, but when she tried to defend herself, Missy told her to sit and listen. Sophia then said that her skills weren't the problem, but she didn't show up when needed. She ended it by telling Manon that she believes she can do it, which the latter found really sweet. Manon then explained her side, and the other trainees seemed to appreciate her honesty and acknowledged that she was doing better. This scene especially evoked strong reactions from the audience, with people wondering why HYBE had decided to include it in the first place. Everyone knew it was nearly impossible to form a group without some conflict, especially in a survival show where the girls were constantly competing against each other for a spot and the public's attention. Some moments that HYBE chose to share probably should have been kept private because scenes showing Manon being targeted have led people to support her and criticize the other girls who made it into the group. Manon and the others have already clarified that these conflicts have already been resolved. Still, Sophia and Lara have both experienced a lot of backlash for how they behaved towards her a few years ago. Some have also said that they would struggle to support the group after seeing some members' apparent personalities. They seem to agree that no matter what the members' relationship is now, the documentary still casts a negative light on certain members, which will stick with some viewers. HYBE did indeed show the realities of being in a survival show and how situations can get tense in a matter of seconds, but at what cost? Manon gained a lot of solo stans, reaching tens of thousands of followers in a matter of days, which include Rosalia, Ginny and Georgia actress Antonia Gentry, and Heartbreak High actor James Majuse. The other girls, including the ones who didn't make it, are getting a ton of hate, so the whole documentary thing and showing the highs and lows of the industry seem to have backfired on HYBE. What's important to remember though is that there are no villains and heroes here, and even though they had issues, they were resolved. Other conflicts could have easily been edited to portray certain members in a specific way or to shape the narrative however the producers wanted. In the end, the documentary may seem like a glimpse into KATSEYE's journey to debut, but it's really just a show edited for entertainment, as the documentary itself acknowledges. Instead of taking everything at face value, let's believe the girls when they say there's no tension and avoid creating drama where there isn't any. And sadly, Chungha's story is another reminder that consistency isn't always guaranteed. Chungha once used to be one of the biggest soloists in the industry, but now it seems like she's disappeared. From no new albums and troubles with her company to a particularly hard period in life, let's talk about the wasted potential of Chungha, who could have been one of the most successful artists of this generation. Her career began in the survival show Produce 101, which she finished in 4th place, and ended up debuting in ITZY. Being one of the most successful members of the group while it was still active, her popularity followed her even after the group disbanded. Her solo debut album Hands on Me ranked at number 8 on the Gaon album chart, which was pretty impressive for an idol from a small company. Chungha's second mini album Offset came out in January 2018 and received even more praise. It reached number 3 on the Gaon album chart and marked Chungha's debut in the US World Albums chart at number 13. Mind you, she did all this with her first comeback. Roller Coaster, the album's title track, was one of the biggest hits that year, and Chungha was seemingly everywhere. She had numerous appearances in variety shows, an SM Station collab with Red Velvet Sulgi, Idol Soyeon, and G-Friend Shinbi, and had her own collabs with VIX's Ravi and Super Junior's Yesong. Even if you weren't interested in her, it was impossible to escape her, as her songs and even fan cams were everywhere. Her next hit song came in January 2019 when Chungha released Gotta Go. She just couldn't stop making bangers. It earned her first ever win on Show Champion, and it gained her a lot of popularity as it showcased a more confident image for Chungha, different from her previous style. This also marked a significant shift in her career, as Gotta Go ranked at number 3 on Billboard's The 25 Best K-Pop Songs of 2019. At this point, Chungha's popularity was at its peak, and her company was very well aware of that as they tried to promote her in all places. In late 2019, she hinted at entering the US market by teaming up with Rich Brian for a song on the Head in the Clouds 2 album. Additionally, she wrote music for well-known dramas like Hotel de Luna and Dr. Romantic 2. In April, she dropped Stay Tonight, a preview single for her first full album Cadencia, which built a lot of hype for it. Everyone was waiting to see just how much Chungha had to offer with an actual album, considering how well her singles had done. Then the hype managed to fade away. With her then pre-release song being scheduled to come out in December 2020 and her album set to drop in January 2021, both releases were delayed, though it was no fault of Chungha, as she was diagnosed with COVID-19 at the time and couldn't promote due to her condition. But once the album was delayed, it was as though the company just gave up on her. At first, they dropped 3 main pre-releases and other songs before the album dropped. Waiting so long between the first pre-release and the actual release of the album really made the excitement of casual listeners and even fans sizzle out. Then, when the album dropped, Bicycle sounded different from regular K-pop and more like an American pop song with a darker vibe. Chungha herself revealed that she wanted to do something similar to Bicycle, which means that the people who didn't like the release couldn't blame the company for it, but after waiting a year for the project, to them, it was just a bit disappointing. But if we can't blame the company for Bicycle, we can blame them for other things. While M&H Entertainment used to be one of the best companies after IOI disbanded, COVID really did a number on them, as in general, it caused some really big problems for small companies. To start with, they didn't really have the experience or the skills to manage artists. Sure, they hit the jackpot with Chungha, but she was already popular due to IOI, and all M&H had to do was promote her in the right way. Initially, they managed well, but once she gained popularity, they pushed themselves too far and made some decisions they couldn't afford to make. They attempted to do too much by launching another group, which was Bandit, relocating to a new building, investing heavily in Chungha's debut album, and starting their new wave project just as the pandemic began. This meant that they were out of resources and couldn't promote their artists as much as they should have. Chungha and then Bandit went from being promoted everywhere to being locked in the basement and were basically neglected by industry standards. So M&H were in big financial trouble, so the smart thing to do would be to promote their artists, right? Especially Chungha, who was the only one to bring actual money into the company. Well, this wasn't quite a solution according to M&H. Her singles and releases stopped getting promoted, and the company basically acted like the songs would be successful on their own. So all that hype and the expensive rollout for her album was for nothing. In addition to that, they signed other soloists and even debuted another boy group named 8 Turn and tried pushing them instead. In 2022, Chungha released Bare and Rare Part 1, and then things went completely downhill. Only a month after the album was released, Chungha started voicing her dissatisfaction with her company. In August of last year, Chungha had logged into VLive to chat with fans. At some point, she brought up her 2-part album Bare and Rare and mentioned just how frustrated she was about the delays in releasing the second part. She explained that the company's condition was the cause, and expressed disappointment because it prevented her from performing the songs that she wanted. The most notable part of the live stream was when a fan expressed just how much they wanted to see Chungha go on a world tour. Chungha also shared that she wanted to do a world tour someday, asking her company why it hadn't happened yet out loud. Another fan asked if she intended to depart from the company, with Chungha replying, "I want to leave. Please let me go." She took her words back, but it didn't mean that fans weren't concerned. One fan in particular went on to share the severity of the situation online, making a post about how the live stream was removed from the VLive site, sharing just how bizarre it was to the fandom that MNH wasn't posting Chungha's selfies despite her sending them to the company. So when Chungha had asked for an explanation, the agency claimed that they had no idea why the photos weren't up, as if this wasn't up to their management team who had control over her social media accounts. The fan also pointed out several mistakes the agency made, like typos and posting the same teaser photos on Instagram and Twitter. Moreover, the agency failed to promote the teasers properly, so few people knew that Chungha had even pre-released songs prior to her album. This made it more than obvious that despite her undeniable popularity, MNH had done her dirty in so many ways, to the point of her getting on livestream and discussing everything so publicly. Thankfully, Chungha ended up departing from the company. She left MNH Entertainment in March of 2023 and joined J-Puck's agency More Vision in October. In fact, J-Puck seemed to have really helped her get through a hard time. When the two appeared on Omniscient Interfering View, J-Puck expressed admiration for Chungha, saying that he was pleasantly surprised at how passionate and enthusiastic she was when performing in front of the camera. He went on to say that he sent her an offer after seeing just how good of a performer she is. Chungha then confessed that J-Puck was the reason that she continued being an idol and didn't go study abroad, saying, "You've been giving me advice since a year ago. You listened to my concerns and kept in touch with me. He's the CEO who contacted me the most." She had spoken up about wanting to give up on the industry altogether at some point, but it was generally nice to hear that someone had valued her so much that it persuaded her to continue being an idol. However, MNH didn't let her go without a fight. They brought her to a point where she begged to leave because of how much they were mistreating her and not letting her release music. The agency chose to be cruel until the last moment. Turns out that Chungha no longer has any control of her social media accounts and even her fan club name. On November 20th, she shared plans for a fresh start with her fans and asked for ideas for a new fandom name. Fans were shocked after this announcement, pointing out that because MNH didn't let her have any of her accounts, Chungha had to open a new Instagram and Twitter account as well as a new YouTube channel because the company chose to be petty and withhold everything. While this isn't the first time that a company has done something like this, MNH's move is pretty excessive and unfair to Chungha, especially considering that her success built the company from the ground up. But this doesn't matter in the end. What matters is that Chungha is out of the company and has joined one that genuinely values her as an artist. Although MNH owns everything from her past, we can hope that this just means that Chungha gets to have a fresh start. We've been waiting for this moment for so long, and we can't wait to see her in the future. But when even JYP can't manage their own girl groups properly, something's seriously off. ITZY and NMIXX had one of the strongest starts in the K-pop industry and were considered two of the groups with the most potential, but now they've basically faded into obscurity, and it's safe to say JYP Entertainment is to blame for all of this. Let's start the video by stating ITZY and NMIXX are still pretty popular by the industry standards, but they could have been the leaders of their generation if JYP played their cards right. Their comebacks, even if they're not talked about much, managed to do pretty good, and they still have a more stable fan base than most groups of their generation. Yet you can't help but feel like their music and overall promotions don't show the group's full potential. It was first obvious with ITZY. If you were here from their debut, you might remember that they were the it group of the fourth generation for quite some time. They dominated the industry in every way and had the general public and the international fans in a grip. The powerful choreography, captivating girl crush concept, and the member skills made them an instant hit. They maintained their popularity with strong performances in digital sales, YouTube views, and physical album sales. Well, until Mafia in the Morning came out. Although their comeback concepts remained similar to what they were preaching since their debut, people started to get bored of them. Even though they were still technically establishing their foundation in the industry, fans wanted to see the girls explore different styles. While their signature sound, quirky styling, and empowering lyrics have proven to be a successful formula, the public wanted something fresh from the group, especially considering their ability to showcase versatility through their B-side tracks. But the versatility never came. at least not when it came to title tracks. At first, they were known to have a unique sound that set them apart from other groups and which couldn't be replicated by anyone else. However, the group kept releasing noisy song after noisy song about self-love, and while they didn't flop on the charts, the public managed to lose interest as it quickly became obvious that JYP were wasting the members' potential in mediocre comebacks. The same thing ended up repeating itself with NMIXX. The members are immensely talented, but you wouldn't know that unless you were a fan of the group. So far, the group has only gotten experimental songs that have tanked on the charts and have gotten massive criticism from fans and non-fans alike. Even if JYP managed to change their sound recently from what we got used to hearing from NMIXX, they're still failing to see what the public likes in terms of music. JYP had a well-executed concept for both groups with immense potential. However, they seem to be uncertain or stuck when it comes to evolving their group sounds. They either lack the right people to pull everything off, or are not gathering the appropriate ideas to maintain a distinct sound. Even though they have attempted to convince the public that the group's music is maturing, the masses don't seem to agree. While groups can indeed change their sound and image almost every comeback, there are ways to do so successfully, and because of this, companies who decide to make changes are aware that there are certain risks that come with this. If the change turns out to be successful, they reap the rewards and try to replicate the aspects that worked. If not, they make necessary adjustments and changes based on the feedback they receive. As opposed to these other companies, JYP is either ignoring or not effectively addressing the negative feedback and issues raised by both fans and the general public, which has caused ITZY's and NMIXX's music to be quite unpopular among the public. At this point, it's clear that having a fan base and the general public divided on every single song for every single comeback is not a positive sign for a group, especially in the long run, no matter if we're talking about ITZY or NMIXX. Especially in ITZY's case, the fans that supported the group since debut have grown out of their music and matured, while ITZY's music has failed to do the same. In another case, those that became fans because of their experimental music have probably dropped out by now, as the group's recent music doesn't appeal to them anymore. We have also witnessed other groups successfully transition from one concept to another without it feeling rushed or disjointed. However, it's unclear what JYP's plans are for their groups, as it seems like there's a lack of direction or concrete strategy for the groups. When it comes to ITZY, and now even NMIXX, JYP tends to prioritize trendy sounds over long-term sustainability, which may not be ideal for a company as big as them. We have witnessed that adopting this mindset when it comes to music is not the right thing to do if they want to last in the industry. Following trends for short-term fame and building a fandom are strategies used by smaller companies who are trying to get their groups out there, not a company like JYP. JYP won't give the members a chance to compete in an industry as cutthroat as the K-pop one if all they will do is keep relying on the latest trends without considering their long-term staying power. As mentioned, other companies are successful in pulling off concept-driven comebacks because they invest time in studying, researching, and planning. Whether you love it or hate it, their approach tends to leave a lasting impression and even start trends rather than following them. Even if the upcoming comebacks of the two groups manage to be a success and nowhere similar to their other title tracks, JYP really set them up when it comes to the schedule. With NMIXX scheduled to come back on July 11th and ITZY coming back only 20 days later, not to mention that Mina, Sana, and Momo's subunit debut is coming on July 26th, overlapping the comebacks of all these girl groups is bad for every single one of them. How are the general public and the casual listeners supposed to focus on them when there's so much going on? Not to mention that the groups of the same company would be competing against each other, which is straight up stupid. The company barely promotes them, so they don't stand a chance until the company wakes up and sees what they're letting slip out of their hands. A commenter said, "The fact that they just released a song and their Instagram account hasn't even posted anything about it on their feed. Only if you look at their highlights will you find the pictures and the promo." An additional issue that fans had in regards to NMIXX's management specifically is the way that they handled Jeannie's departure. While we weren't given a lot of information about why she left, JYP completely erased her and treated the whole thing as if Jeannie was never a part of the group. Performances were edited to erase her, and all of her pictures were deleted from the group's Instagram. While it's normal for the group to not talk about a former member, it's not professional for the company to go so far to erase her existence to the point that you start having doubts that she was a part of the group in the first place. Fans also have complaints about the styling of both groups. It's ironic that even though JYP's groups have very trendy music, the styling of the members feels outdated and tacky. The group tends to wear the same type of outfits, and they almost always look cheap and not cohesive with each other. The style of their outfits remains the same in music videos, live performances, and other appearances in award shows and events. Sometimes it's challenging to identify distinct style eras for the group as they consistently present a similar look. Another problem that the fans have noticed in the way that JYP is mismanaging both both ITZY and NMIXX is the lack of solo promotions for the members. Especially with other companies doing the most to emphasize their idols' talents and charms, JYP's girl groups seem to fall short in that regard. The vocalists in other groups have OSTs, more lines in songs so that they can showcase their vocals, and appear in shows so the general public and people who aren't familiar with the group get an idea of how talented they are. Other dancers get harder choreographies and break dances in their songs, while the charismatic members are MCs and go on variety shows and have a tight schedule whether they have a comeback or not. The ITZY girls have gone viral multiple times for their synchronization, visuals, dancing skills, and the adorable relationship between the members, while NMIXX have become trendy on Twitter and other social media due to their vocals and variety skills. JYP's failure to capitalize on the members' individual popularity and their attempts to showcase their skills outside of group promotions will unfortunately contribute to a natural decline in public interest between comebacks, and the music hasn't helped their interest too. It would be beneficial for JYP to strike a balance by providing solo opportunities for members while also actively promoting the members as a group. This approach could attract the attention of fans who are interested in both the individual members and the group as a whole. So to avoid being left in the dust and facing potential disbandment, JYP needs to shake things up and make the members stand out in the crowd, especially with so many groups coming out. JYP should really step in and take charge and spice things up by giving the members of NMIXX and ITZY more solo and group schedules. Maybe even consider a complete makeover of their concept and sound, turning up the freshness factor to wow the public once again. So let's bring both ITZY and NMIXX back on track and make them a force to be reckoned with in the industry. But they're not alone. Over at YG, another rookie group is already facing similar concerns. BABYMONSTER finally debuted, and it was something. But even though the opinions on their debut song have been mixed, there's one thing that everybody can agree on. The potential of BABYMONSTER members have been wasted with this debut song, and they deserved much better. The group actually had a messier debut journey than one would expect from a big three group. First, there was the whole survival show, which, judging by the outcome, shouldn't have been a thing in the first place. At this point, they had been training for a few years, and yet the company thought that the best idea was to have them compete in a survival show. The show, titled Last Evaluation, aired in 2023 but was filmed the year prior, and it featured 7 potential members, who all ended up debuting. Originally aiming for 5 members, Yang Hyun-suk, the founder of YG Entertainment, decided on a group of 7, which included 3 South Korean members, namely Ah-hyun, Rami, and Rora, 2 Japanese members, who were Ruka and Asa, and 2 Thai members, Parita and Chiquita. While some were directly chosen by the label, others, like Rora and Asa, were considered for different projects before being chosen for the final lineup because they were popular among the fans. However, the fact that the show was filmed a year prior made fans think that YG was waiting for the public to get familiar with the group before they debuted, which was expected to happen right after the show ended. But you can always expect the unexpected from YG. The company officially introduced the group on December 30th, 2022 using a poster labeled YG Next Movement. They released a trailer-like video on YouTube on New Year's Day, which quickly reached 15 million views in just 3 days, and considering the circumstances, it was understandable. They were the first girl group to debut under YG since 2016, so everyone was hyped to see what this group had to offer. Seeing as BLACKPINK's contracts were also close to expiring, YG had to come up with something that could make up for their absence, and they had all the means to do so. The girls were talented, that was undeniable. YG had also marketed the girls as great vocalists, with articles coming out that they were closer to the likes of Big Mama, who were a vocal group under YG, rather than BLACKPINK or 21. Knowing how the general public loved vocal-heavy groups, all the company had to do was play their cards right, and they would have a hit in their hands. However, they failed to do just that. At first, there were talks that the group would debut in the first half of the year. Then it was said that they would debut sometime in summer. Then YG confirmed that the debut would happen in September. And finally, when the time came, YG said that the debut had been delayed until November to ensure better quality. Hearing this, you'd expect that when BABYMONSTER finally hit the stage, they'd be doing it with a song that would sweep everyone away. Not to mention that Yang Hyun-suk himself confirmed that he held several song camps with famous foreign producers so they could collect songs for BABYMONSTER's debut. He also mentioned that some follow-up projects have been outlined and were in the early stages of planning. This raised excitement even more, even though the unexpected and unnecessary delays had dimmed the anticipation a bit. There were also problems of whether Ah-hyun had left the group or not, whatnot, so BABYMONSTER and even YG had pressure to deliver a great debut song that would make the group rise up from the controversies. Then they came up with Batter Up. As we mentioned before, there were some mixed reactions to the song, but the general consensus was that it was bad. The song was messy, and to some people, it sounded a lot more like a parody of a BLACKPINK song rather than a new group. In fact, if we didn't know that the music came from YG, you'd think that this was a small company with a small budget trying to copy BLACKPINK's sound. The debut also failed to showcase the vocal abilities of the members, and to someone who doesn't know the members, you wouldn't get the idea that they're good vocalists. In fact, you wouldn't get any idea from it at all. This debut failed to show that the group had any identity outside of being YG artists. It was also a bit disappointing, as other companies have been trying different concepts for their groups to make them stand out amongst the numerous groups that debut each year. NewJeans managed to actually bring back the Y2K concept back from the industry. LE SSERAFIM and IVE, among others, were also successful in establishing a certain image and sound that are now synonymous with them. People anticipated BABYMONSTER to introduce something fresh and original. However, instead of doing that, it seemed like the company attempted to rely on nostalgia in the current situation involving BLACKPINK by debuting them with a very traditional YG sounding song. Unfortunately, the public wasn't very fond of that. Some are even convinced that the song would have been received better if it hadn't been delayed so much, but who knows. It also seemed like the music video was put together last minute by making them film in the same sets that were used in the BLACKPINK music videos like Shut Down and Boombaya. It was obvious that while the girls were immensely talented, they were being pushed into a concept that didn't fit them all that much. For the badass and girl crush to work, the company needed capable and experienced women to engage the audience effectively. So giving the same concept to teenagers that didn't have any stage or camera experience doesn't exactly have the impact, and it just looks like the girls were cosplaying as adults and wearing their mother's clothes. Overall, the song left a bad taste in everyone's mouths. It was supposed to be vocal heavy and produced by famous foreign producers, yet it had YG all over it. The corny rap lyrics, the scattered beat, the choreography that didn't match the vibe of the song, and the forced girl crush concept on soft-looking teenagers. The song didn't chart anywhere in Korea, and to make matters worse, YG has announced that the members wouldn't be promoting on music shows. This was what the fans have been waiting for, because if the members hadn't been able to fully show how talented they are with the music video, they could do it on stage. There, fans could witness their dancing skills, stability, and stage presence. However, YG has announced that there would be no plans for them to take part in any music shows. They told TV Report, "There is no fixed schedule for BABYMONSTER's music broadcast appearances yet," adding that they'd reveal specific plans for the group once everything gets sorted out. According to YG, their main focus at the moment is getting ready for promotions and working on the next tracks. Netizens have also pointed out that the members don't have any social media accounts, writing, "Then YG must be promoting their music, right? Articles, press releases, and showcases doesn't exist. Music show schedules doesn't exist." They also mentioned that the lack of promotions has made it seem that they released a pre-debut single rather than a debut song. Assuming that YG don't want to sabotage themselves and their group, we're guessing that they're planning to release other songs and then promote them. Maybe they're waiting for Ahyun to come back, if she ever does, so they can all promote together. There's also a chance that they released Batter Up because everything had been a mess. They had delayed the debut twice, and there was a lot of speculation that Ahyun had left the company. The release of Batter Up could be damage control. That's why the company is trying to sweep the debut under the rug until Ahyun comes back. Then they could release a public-friendly song and promote it with all 7 members. So while we have no idea what YG is doing with the group, they're very much wasting their potential. In addition to that, we know how YG works. Even though there's promises of new music, it's very unlikely that the company will follow up on that. Back then, the company said that Winner would be releasing 2 more songs after their debut, but then they took a 2-year break and started the Exit project. However, they only released Exit E, and the project never ended up getting finished. And let's not even get started on BLACKPINK. YG would make announcements of comebacks almost every few months, and in the end, BLACKPINK ended up releasing less than 40 songs in 7 years. It could be possible that BABYMONSTER rushed the song just to try and test the public reaction before Ahyun came back, and then they would release whatever they wanted. But it's also possible that the company is in a frenzy and has no idea what they're doing. According to a company review by an employee, the people making the big decisions seem disconnected and often don't follow the rules. They're also not good with deadlines and get too involved in small things like editing short videos. The employee stated that it's tough to change their minds there, so it's hard to try new ideas or keep up with what customers want. Seems like YG to us. We just feel bad for the girls. They trained a couple years with the hopes of debuting, then the company pushed them into a survival show, then they said that they wouldn't be debuting them all, then they they delayed the debut and then gave them a lackluster song that didn't show any of the talents that they had developed during their years of training. If Ah-hyun got out of the company, let's hope that the girls follow after, because YG doesn't seem like a company that respects their artists. But before BABYMONSTER, there was CL, an icon left waiting for a comeback that never truly came. CL was once an unstoppable force in the K-pop industry. She skyrocketed to stardom as a member of the legendary girl group 21, and then started her solo journey in hopes that she would keep the hype alive. With her distinctive style, electrifying performances, and revolutionary approach to music, CL has made a name for herself as one of the best rappers in the industry. Lately, it seems that CL's extraordinary talent hasn't received the recognition it deserves, leading many to wonder why the industry and the company she was under failed her to the point that we barely hear about her today. CL's ascent to stardom can be described as nothing short of spectacular. As the leader and rapper of the renowned girl group 21, she played a transformative role in shaping the very essence of the group, from their image to their distinct music style. Central to 21's groundbreaking journey was CL herself. Her charisma and rap skills were a key factor in creating a new wave of K-pop, one which was set apart by an edgier and more authentic vibe. However, as all good things must come to an end, 21 disbanded in 2016, leaving fans curious about what the future held for the members, especially CL. Her song The Baddest Female made history like no other song. In October 2014, it was announced that CL was planning to start her solo music career in the United States the following year with Scooter Braun as her manager. While Scooter Braun is not exactly the public's favorite person, having him sign CL was a big deal, as her fans were expecting lots of promotions for her which would get her name out there. And these promotions started basically right away. In May of 2015, she was featured on Diplo's song Dr. Pepper alongside Riff Raff and OG Mako. Then, in November 2015, CL released her first single, Hello, as a preview for her originally intended mini-album called Lifted. The song did really well, but again, the public kept wanting more from her. During this time, she was also featured on Psy's song Daddy, which made its debut at number 97 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, marking her first appearance on the chart. After everything that happened with 21 and their unfortunate end as a group, it was actually refreshing to see CL make a promising start in her career as a soloist. Additionally, CL collaborated with Cheyenne on Lil Yachty's track Surrender. Then the cracks in the relationship between her and the company started to show. In 2017, CL penned a heartfelt message to her fans addressing the delays in releasing her album. She shared that she had experienced a series of challenging breakups over the past few years, particularly highlighting the disbandment of 21. She admitted that her attempts to rush the process had only made things worse, so she decided to let it unfold naturally and take her time. Signing off as the queen of album delays, she promised her eager fans that she would be releasing music soon. Unfortunately, this promise remained unfulfilled, leaving her fans disappointed. Furthermore, in February of 2018, CL had the honor of performing at the closing ceremony of the 2018 Winter Olympics at Pyeongchang Olympic Stadium. CL's magnetic stage presence translated into her solo performances, captivating audiences around the world, and the Olympics performance seemed like the perfect way for her to get attention beyond K-pop spaces. And it worked. She was the main topic on the internet due to her powerful performances, so it was expected of her company to promote her more and keep up the hype. That never ended up happening, and we only have YG Entertainment to blame for it. In fact, she revealed that she had to do her own makeup, sort out her own outfit, and even had her backup dancer searching online for hairstyles to do their hair for the Olympics performance, as the company refused to help her. If this wasn't bad enough, we didn't hear much about CL after the Olympics performance. Except for a collaboration with Black Eyed Peas in October of the same year, CL was left doing nothing until her contract with YG expired. YG couldn't even say that there was no music to release because CL shared that she had written over 200 songs ready for release, but the company never gave her the chance to do so. The promise of her solo endeavors seemed to fade off, leaving fans and the general public alike wondering about the reasons behind the unfulfilled potential of CL. Mismanagement is one of the biggest reasons why CL didn't reach her full potential as an artist. CL actually went and publicly pointed fingers at YG Entertainment for preventing the release of her album. On New Year's Day in 2018, she shared snippets of a music video for a single titled All In a now deleted Instagram post. In an article of The Fader, the stylist for the video mentioned that it was originally planned for release in 2016 and that he had given up hope of it ever coming out because of the company. Even the director for the music video expressed his confusion about why it hadn't been released. Interestingly, this article with The Fader was actually supposed to be an interview with CL, as the author of the article claimed, claimed, but then YG had called the whole interview off. People to this day believe that it was a way of silencing CL from speaking out against the company. Thankfully, CL ended up leaving YG in November of 2018. Just a month later, she released her first mini album titled In the Name of Love, which marked her return to music after more than 3 years without new releases. Sadly, it appears that CL no longer has the rights to the music she recorded under YG. When a fan inquired about a song called All In, CL revealed that she had given up the rights to it when she left YG, which is pretty sad. Once it was revealed that CL had parted ways from them, fans eagerly wondered about her future plans. They speculated whether she would join another agency or choose to be independent by creating her own company. Ultimately, CL opted for independence and founded her own company called Very Cherry. But even now that she was managed by her own company, CL wasn't at the center of attention anymore. Some blamed YG Entertainment for not promoting her at her peak, which caused people to lose interest in her and move on to other artists. Others blamed CL for not changing her image ever since she left YG. According to some Reddit commenters, CL's "oh, I'm a bad B" persona that she had during the time that she was a part of YG Entertainment got tiring very fast, and that she should have moved on as soon as she went independent. A user said, "She needs to reinvent herself. She can still be badass, but like in a different flavor now. She needs to move on from her 21 days, though it's kinda hard." However, it's hard to blame her management, seeing as she launched her own company to promote her independence, yet did nothing to put herself out there even though she was basically in charge of herself at that point. Despite the fact that she could now do anything she wanted with her career, she postponed the release of her album multiple times, which made people grow tired of the constant changes. Additionally, her focus on breaking into the Western music market ruined the hype and popularity she had in Korea. She even signed a contract with Connect Entertainment so they could handle her domestic promotions, but fans were disappointed with that as well. She performed on a few music shows, did some photo shoots, appeared on Yoo Hee-yeol's sketchbook to perform her songs, appeared on an episode of MMTG and New Quiz on the Block, but overall focused on overseas promotions, which according to some fans was not a smart move. The West is already focused on big names like BTS and BLACKPINK, so some people think that CL should rather focus on gaining support from the general public in Korea rather than try and have a career overseas. Even her Coachella performance, which was inarguably one of the biggest gigs she had in the recent years, was overshadowed by the 21 reunion. Sure, we were more than happy that it happened and that she showed her unfading love for her group, but the question here is whether it did anything for CL's career in Korea or even overseas. She also attended a few festivals in the West, did performances and interviews, but it helped little to nothing to give her her desired fame in America, and worst of all, everyone had moved on from her back in Korea as well. Another reason why she fell off is because she didn't release music after she released Alpha. It's hard for the public to keep up with her if there's nothing to keep the hype alive. While Alpha wasn't her most successful release, it put her on the radar once again, reminding people that she was still active in the industry. But the promotions for the album were minimal, and once they were over, even the small bit of attention she got due to Alpha faded again. Even casual listeners were confused as to why she wasn't releasing or even teasing anything after Alpha came out. A few people blamed CL herself, accusing her of thinking that she's too famous to go on variety shows and build up her popularity in Korea. According to them, it seems like CL still thinks that she has the same amount of support and popularity from the time that she was in 21, which could explain her lack of activities. It could also explain why smaller artists like Jessie have surpassed her in popularity. They appear in variety shows to the point that the public becomes interested in them and support their releases. Recently, CL parted ways with Connect Entertainment, her domestic management partner, and has met with Psy and G-Dragon. This has started the rumors that she might be partnering with P Nation or joining it. Whatever is happening, we need to have CL back, so let's hope that this meeting between some of the most prominent figures in the industry leads to new releases on CL's part. It's incredibly sad to see her potential and talent go to waste just because of a few bad steps. And one of the most underrated groups in recent years? They are still fighting for the recognition they deserve. Is this the end of Everglow? The girl group debuted 6 years ago, and now it is surrounded by more controversies than the number of albums they have produced. Yeerin's recent claims about Yuhwa's exploitative contracts have only added fuel to the fire, making it seem like the group is on the verge of collapse. Here's how Yuhwa's choices turned a group full of potential into one fighting to stay afloat. On March 18th, Yeirin privately shared with fans on Bubble that Everglow has never received a single paycheck from their company, Yuhwa Entertainment, since their debut. Yeirin opened up about the group's group's upcoming tour, addressing concerns over the lack of new music. She made it clear that performing means everything to her, and despite the challenges, she's not ready to walk away from her idol career. But then came a shocking admission. She hasn't earned a single cent since EVERGLOW's debut. Even so, she reassured fans that the members were giving their all for the tour, determined to make it happen. She also expressed regret over the long wait for new music, fully aware of the frustration fans feel. When a fan questioned her claim, Yerin casually confirmed it, laughing off the harsh reality of being an idol with no paycheck. To say that fans were outraged would be an understatement, as they called YooA out for its slave contracts. How could a group with viral hits like Dun Dun, Bon Bon Chocolat, and La Di Da, songs that have racked up hundreds of millions of views, still not be paid? Many accused the company of blatantly exploiting the members and using them as money-making machines for the agency's other projects. The way things are going, it seems like EVERGLOW won't be making their comeback anytime soon. And to make matters worse, YooA is tight-lipped on the matter, to the point that the members themselves don't even know when their next release is going to be. During a March 21st live stream celebrating their debut anniversary, Yerin assured fans that they would see them again in their next comeback. But the mood shifted when EU chimed in, admitting they had no idea when that would actually happen. This prompted Sion to say, "CEO, are you listening? I want a Europe tour." The anniversary live stream was then deleted from Weverse, prompting fans to believe that it was due to the members directly asking for a comeback in front of an audience. With the company staying silent, fans can't help but assume that EVERGLOW is slowly fading into obscurity. It's frustrating to watch, especially for a group that once stood out in the K-pop scene. From day one, they weren't here to play it safe. While most girl groups leaned into cute or elegant concepts, EVERGLOW came in with power, intensity, and a sound that hit like a truck. They took elements usually seen in boy groups, strong bass, aggressive beats, and commanding stage presence, and made it completely their own. They weren't just another girl group following trends, they were setting them. EVERGLOW had everything to become K-pop's next big thing. So how did things go so wrong? If there is one thing EVERGLOW fans have learned over the years, it is that their agency, YooA Entertainment, has never properly managed them. From long hiatuses to poor promotions, it is clear that EVERGLOW has been pushed to the back burner in favor of the company's newer priority, Tempest, a boy group. Yeah, no one is really surprised. Fans have speculated for a while now that YooA has been funneling the money earned by EVERGLOW into Tempest's promotions. And when you look at the numbers, it is not hard to see why people think that. Tempest debuted in March 2022, and in just 2 years, they have already released 4 mini-albums and 1 single album. EVERGLOW, on the other hand, debuted 3 years earlier in 2019, yet they have been stuck with fewer comebacks and inconsistent scheduling. Even when it comes to music videos, Tempest has already caught up to EVERGLOW in quantity despite debuting much later. To be fair, it is understandable why YooA would want to push Tempest. The 4th generation boy group scene is highly competitive, with groups like Stray Kids, ITZY, and TXT dominating the global market. Tempest, while not as big as those groups, is far from invisible. They have just as many music show wins as EVERGLOW, and have even taken home some award show wins. YooA likely sees potential in them and is pouring resources into making them a bigger name in the industry. But in doing so, EVERGLOW has seriously suffered. They were sidelined for over a year while Yerin pursued solo activities in China, and even after her return, promotions remained lackluster. Fans had to constantly push for a comeback, and when it finally happened, it felt rushed and underwhelming compared to the effort put into Tempest's releases. This has left many wondering if YooA even sees a future for EVERGLOW, or if they are simply using the group as a funding source for their boy group. It is a frustrating situation for fans who have stuck with EVERGLOW through years of inconsistent management. The group has shown time and time again that they have the potential to be a top-tier act, but without proper agency support, they are being held back. But unless YooA changes its approach, EVERGLOW risks becoming yet another mismanaged girl group left to fade away while their company chases after the next big thing. We don't even have to do a deep dive to see exactly where YooA's priorities lie. EVERGLOW's 2024 North and Latin America tour was enough to tell the critics that the group means business. Even American music critics couldn't help but rave about their innovation. But the tour also highlighted YooA Entertainment's continued neglect of the group. Fans at the Chicago concert praised the members for their effort. From live vocals to reworked choreography due to Aisha's absence, everything seemed perfect. Yet the production failures were glaring and the mismanagement was evident from the start. The tour already suffered from canceled West Coast dates, and once the concert began, technical issues piled up. The sound mixing was poor, drowning out vocals with excessive bass. The translator system malfunctioned so badly that Anda had to step in. Even simple planned segments like a song guessing game failed due to equipment issues. Perhaps the most frustrating moment came during the encore when fans requested No Lie, only for the members to apologize since, as it turns out, YooA had only provided backing tracks for title songs. It seems like EVERGLOW is losing its grip on their international fans too. But fans also speculate that EVERGLOW's hiatus can also be blamed on the way the company handles scandals. When it comes to EVERGLOW, there's no controversy bigger than the one surrounding Yiren and her open support for China while working in South Korea. It all started on January 2nd, 2022 during a fan signing event. The group gathered to greet their fans for the new year, and as is customary in Korea, 5 of the 6 members bowed to show respect. But Yiren stood still and greeted fans with a traditional Chinese-style gesture instead. Now, in any other context, this might not have been a big deal, but in K-pop, where cultural sensitivity is a huge topic, this moment immediately sparked backlash. Many Korean fans were outraged, flooding social media with comments like, "If you refuse to do a Korean New Year's greeting, why are you still promoting here? And go back to China if you can't respect Korean traditions." Meanwhile, on Weibo, Chinese netizens saw Yiren's action as a proud moment, praising her for sticking to Chinese customs and refusing to bow. But this wasn't Yiren's first time being at the center of controversy. In 2019, EVERGLOW made an appearance on South Korea's National Defense TV, where they were seen performing and even giving a salute to the Korean army. This did not go over well in China. Reports later revealed that Yuwa was actually punished by Chinese authorities for allowing one of their artists to be part of a South Korean military event. Yiren later created a personal Weibo account where she set her profile picture as the Chinese national flag, seemingly making a statement about where her loyalties lay. Now, it is easy to look through that gimmick as fans immediately understood that Yiren was just trying to stay safe in her country, which made a lot of sense. Even the Korean fans supported her through a PR crisis. But then everything changed. Back in 2020, she voiced support for the Xinjiang Cotton Campaign, a movement that was linked to allegations of forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. She openly agreed with a post from People's Daily, a Chinese state-run newspaper, emphasizing that she prioritized Chinese culture above everything else. Yiren's controversial statements were everywhere on the internet, and it seemed like Yuwa was taking a step back from the spotlight to save face. But the agency did too little too late. Things escalated when she was found supporting a slogan that framed China as the saviors of Korea during the Korean War. This was a massive problem because historically, Chinese forces actually supported North Korea. The war left lasting scars, and many Korean families are still grappling with its generational trauma. And to make matters worse, she liked that slogan during June, South Korea's Veterans Month. That timing made it all the more painful, and even today, fan forums are bringing that controversy up. At this point, it is clear that Yiren had become one of the most polarizing figures in K-pop. This ongoing tension didn't just affect Yiren, it put the entire group in a difficult position. Some Korean fans started withdrawing support from EVERGLOW altogether, while international fans were caught in the middle, unsure of how to navigate the situation. And here's the thing, controversies like this aren't uncommon when it comes to foreign K-pop idols, especially Chinese members. But with EVERGLOW already struggling under Yuwa Entertainment's management, Yiren's actions only made things more complicated. Some fans argue that Yiren's agency, Yuwa Entertainment, played a huge role in this. At the time, EVERGLOW was on hiatus, and Yuwa saw an opportunity to push Yiren's solo career in China. She got modeling gigs, performances on Chinese shows, and a solo debut. But in China's entertainment industry, being openly pro-China is pretty much a requirement for success. Many believe that the agency may have posted these statements under her name, whether she fully agreed with them or not. But despite their efforts, her career in China never really took off. And so, when things didn't work out, she came back to EVERGLOW, who, by the way, had been on an extended hiatus the entire time she was gone. Some fans speculate that Yiren has been dragged through the mud unnecessarily. In fact, it is the group's agency that is letting her career go to waste so they can finally disband EVERGLOW to fund other projects. No matter what the truth is, Yuwa might have just ended 6 promising careers. And then there's the group that did go viral, only to be forgotten again just as quickly. Following Brave Girl's success in 2021, many fans thought that the fate of the group had changed for the better. But with Brave Entertainment announcing that the group has officially disbanded in February 2023, people started wondering how the company had failed to keep the group as successful. Brave Entertainment had a long history of mistreating and ignoring Brave girls in favor of other groups. The group debuted in April of 2011 under Brave Entertainment with a completely different lineup than the one that we're used to seeing today. The 2 releases in their debut year weren't big hits, but they still did relatively well for a group that didn't come from a big label. So you can see that the group had potential even in the beginning, seeing as their next comebacks were well received and they continued to gain fans rapidly. However, the company failed them even then. If you've been a K-pop stan for a while, you probably know that Brave Brothers, the person that founded Brave Entertainment, is behind some of the best songs to have come out of the second generation. He produced songs for After School, Sista, 4 Minute, Big Bang, and many more, but mainly AOA. Because he was too busy producing for other groups, Brave Girls went on hiatus for an indefinite amount of time. They had little to no promotions for a good chunk of 2012 and only released a single in 2013, which didn't have a music video or any promotions. Fans were confused at this point. With Brave Brothers not giving his own group any attention or activities, people thought that he had given up on Brave Girls altogether. Some even thought that Brave Girls had disbanded, but since the company wasn't giving an answer or a clear statement, everyone was left in the dark. Brave Girls was reportedly supposed to release their first full album sometime in 2014, but that never ended up happening because Brave Brothers was producing other group songs, which led to the members leaving. Soa, Unyoung, and Yejin departed from the group, and Brave Girls only had 2 members, Haeran and Yujin. The group didn't have any music-related activities until 2016, when 5 members were added to the lineup. They released the single Deepened in February of 2016. The fact that they had lost members and had a long hiatus made them lose their momentum. No matter how good the music they were releasing was, the 3 years of inactivity had really hurt the group and had destroyed any chance of popularity that they might have had. Or so they thought. A few months later, they dropped High Heels and a digital single in September, making 2016 the most active year of their career. Then, a year later, their lineup experienced more changes, with the 2 remaining original members leaving. In March of the same year is when they released Rollin', but back then it was only a sleeper hit, which was mostly acknowledged by international fans and became popular among soldiers. Hayeon, one of the members, also ended up leaving in 2018, and Brave Girls went into another 2-year hiatus. During the hiatus, they ended up having lots of performances in the military, and Eunji even ended up appearing on the first season of Queendom. They ended up releasing another single in 2020 titled We Ride, which fit right in with the retro trend at the time, but the comeback didn't do well. This seemed like the end of Brave Girls based on what the members were saying themselves. In April of 2021, they had a meeting regarding their disbandment, and 2 of the members, Yoona and Yoo-dong, ended up moving out of their dorms, thinking that their time in the group had come to an end. Then a miracle happened. The group had performed for soldiers more than 100 times from 2016 and onwards. All the performances of the song had been compiled in a video and uploaded by a channel called Viditor, along with comments of soldiers who had seen them perform. They had uploaded hundreds of videos that were similar, but this one in particular got tons of attention. Even though they were going viral, the group didn't get excited at first. Yoo-jong revealed that the members told each other, "Don't get your hopes up, you'll end up feeling hurt." Their success was unimaginable. They got back on music shows and got several trophies, set the record for the most perfect all kills, peaked at #1 on every Korean chart, and the members got busy with activities. They all expressed to be very grateful that they were doing what they love. Fans and non-fans were so happy to see the girls thrive and to finally see their hard work pay off. Now it was all in the hands of Brave Entertainment to make the most of the group's sudden success. With the song that was breaking record after record and was putting Brave Girls in the ranks of groups like BTS, BLACKPINK, and TWICE, it shouldn't have been too hard to keep them popular. Yet they failed. It's true that sometimes it's hard to capitalize on viral success, even if groups have the best management. In cases like these, companies usually try to recreate that success by following the same recipe that made them go viral in the first place. However, we can't exactly call Brave Girls a one-hit wonder. As mentioned before, even though their songs weren't exactly hits, they still did well in the charts, so it wouldn't have been too difficult for Brave Entertainment to continue basking on their popularity. But it was obvious that the company should have seized the opportunity and should have done it quickly, since the industry was moving at an incredibly fast pace. After their newfound success, Brave Girls released a special version of High Heels and a promotional single titled Red Sun. They made their first official comeback with their 5th mini-album Summer Queen with the lead single Tima Baram. The song did very well on the charts, and although they weren't able to recreate the success of Rollin', it showed that the girls still had the general public's love. Then they released the repackaged version of their 5th mini-album After We Ride with the lead single of the same name. However, the company let the fans know of the album 2 weeks before it got released, and when it came out, the song didn't have any music show promotions and only had a Naver live performance. The album only had one version too, which didn't help much with the sales. They also released the mini-album Thank You to celebrate the anniversary of their first win, but again, the marketing for the album and the title track was bad, and there was only one version of it. Well, it was kind of hard for Brave Brothers to spend the money Brave Girls had brought to the company to promote the group when he had spent it to build up a new building for Brave Entertainment. Brave Girls were also participants in Queendom Season 2, but ended up in the last place despite having amazing performances throughout the show. After Queendom, it seems that Brave Entertainment completely forgot that Brave Girls needed to be promoted in Korea too. They were the only group that participated in Queendom that didn't have a proper comeback after the show ended to gauge popularity gains. Whistle, the song they released released in the last round of the show also wasn't released nor promoted as an actual song. The group did do a US tour, which went relatively well, but the company promoted it really poorly. There was no merch for the tour, which made the fans come up with the merch themselves, and after the tour was over, they didn't release anything to keep their new fans interested. The members also expressed that they wanted to hold a concert for their Korean fans. They were supposed to hold a concert in January of 2022, but it was postponed indefinitely due to COVID. The girls went and did their US tour, but there still wasn't any news on what was going on with their Korean concert. The fans held protests in front of Brave Entertainment, but failed to get an answer from the company. Minyoung then posted a message on Kakao Talk saying that the members desperately wanted to hold a concert in Korea. Due to the company denying this request, they said that they were willing to hold a concert in a small venue and even wanted to pay for it themselves, but the company didn't let them. They also expected to have a comeback during summer, but the company let them down in that department too. After the tour finished, they had no official offline schedules. Throughout all of 2022, they didn't hold a single fan meeting, birthday event, or anything similar. The only official communication that the group had with their fans this year was through a New Year greeting. Brave Girls faded into obscurity, with people forgetting about them altogether when new, more exciting groups started popping up, and with the girls having no promotions whatsoever. So when it was announced that they disbanded and the girls had decided not to renew their contracts with Brave Entertainment, it came as a surprise to no one. Brave Girls had tried their best throughout their career, had a successful era that felt like a fever dream even to the members, and then were failed by their company, even though they had the desire and will to keep performing and releasing music for anyone who was willing to listen. So what's next for them? Well, let's just say that Brave Girls fans shouldn't give up hope just yet, as the members seem determined to keep on going with or without Brave Entertainment. On February 16th, Minyoung told fans, "We are not disbanding. The 4 members are willing to be together. The contract with the label just expired and we are still the same." She continued to assure fans that it is more than possible for the group to reunite in the future, saying that the members believe that this is not the end. She also asked for the fans to keep supporting them. Based on what Minyoung wrote, it is possible that Brave Girls is going to continue as a group under the management of a new company who will finally treat them right. What's sure is that we will keep supporting them no matter what happens to them in the future. And sometimes, stepping out on your own comes with more risks than rewards. Despite the sudden surge in success of P-Nation artists, Dawn seems to be lacking behind. There's a question begging to be asked. Is there a way for him to make it big in the industry, and does he even want to? The breakthrough that never came. Debuting in 2016 as a dancer and rapper in Pentagon under Cube Entertainment, Dawn's future looked bright. While Pentagon has never been able to reach the level of success of other popular groups, they've gradually built a supportive and loving fandom. In the beginning, Pentagon followed what the audience loved the most, the mysterious bad boy image, which was a huge trend back then. After a year of being a member of Pentagon, Dawn debuted in another group called Triple H alongside Pentagon's member Hui and label mate Hyuna. As sad as it might sound, it seems like Dawn lived through his prime time while he was in Triple H. Through this group, Dawn managed to show off his writing skills as he contributed in songwriting all of the tracks, including the massive hits 365 Fresh and Retro Future. 365 Fresh earned Triple H a place on the Gaon album chart and the Billboard World Albums chart. A new wave of popularity came when Pentagon released Shine, which is their most popular track to this day and is still loved by many people. It was all looking good for Dawn as a member of both Triple H and Pentagon, but then it came crashing down. Dawn and Hyuna decided to announce their relationship in August of 2018, just 2 years after Dawn debuted with Pentagon. He was doing well in terms of his career, and everything was pointing to him making it big one day. While idols should have the freedom to date whoever they want to and come clean about their relationships, now it seems like them doing that has deeply affected Dawn's career. Dawn parted ways with Cube Entertainment in November of 2018, 1 month after Hyuna's departure. Their exclusive contracts were canceled, and both of them didn't have to hide their relationship anymore. They've also gained the freedom of being a solo artist after leaving Cube Entertainment, but here's when the first complications started. Hyuna has been an on and off solo artist ever since she left Wonder Girls back in 2007. She then joined the group 4 Minute in 2009, but had a lot of solo projects on the side. When it comes to Dawn, he became a solo artist almost overnight. There's no doubt that Dawn is a skilled and talented artist, both when it comes to songwriting and performing, but his potential as a solo artist was questioned all the way back in 2018, right after he left Cube Entertainment. Through an interview with Sports Soul in 2018, music industry experts shared their opinions on Dawn's potential as a solo artist. One of them spoke positively about Dawn's future, stating that Dawn's rapping skills aren't bad for an idol and that his performances in Pentagon were at the top. The expert's verdict was that Dawn still had a lot to show. The other expert wasn't as hopeful. They stated, "I think he'll need some time to promote as a solo artist or in another group. He also needs an opportunity to gather his separated fandom." This expert also added that it won't be easy for Dawn to get back to the success he had with Pentagon or Triple H if he won't be given a restarting point or a chance, such as an audition show or a variety show. For Dawn to find an agency that could support him or aid him was also very important, according to the expert. Then the last expert saw nothing but darkness in Dawn's future. This expert said, "First of all, it won't be easy for him to find an agency to work with. There are some in the public that support him, but from an agency's point of view, he committed a detrimental act for his former label." The expert also mentioned that when Dawn came clean about his relationship with Hyuna, he lost a huge chunk of his fans, but gained the support of the general public. However, the expert added that those people were not loyal fans of Dawn, and that it won't be easy for him to immediately jump back into the domestic success he previously had. As we see, it was hard for people to be positive about Dawn's future. It wasn't just experts who were on the edge, but netizens as well. One post on Reddit from 2 years ago states that Hyuna and Dawn shouldn't have come clean about the relationship. The person behind the post stated that they should have left their dating rumors just as rumors. Due to them coming clean about their relationship, Dawn basically lost everything and had to start completely from scratch. The person mentioned that Hyuna would have been just fine, which is something that can't be denied since she's had a pretty stable and successful career before. Since Dawn was a writer and a rapper for Pentagon, he was mainly the one to give the group the true and unique Pentagon sound. After Pentagon lived through the success of Shine, it seems like the success suddenly stopped. So what is the real problem here? Is it the lack of support from Dawn's new agency, P Nation, or is the public too focused on Dawn as Hyuna's boyfriend and not enough on Dawn as a solo artist? Shadowed by his lover. Let's not beat around the bush. Ever since Dawn and Hyuna made their relationship public, Dawn has been continuously associated with his girlfriend as if they were one person, and hardly has had articles written about him that would highlight his career and success as a solo artist. There's nothing wrong with Hyuna and Dawn being praised for breaking the ruthless dating ban presented throughout the whole K-pop industry. It just seems like Dawn has been reduced to nothing but Hyuna's boyfriend. The same poster on Reddit expressed that it would have been better if Hyuna and Dawn kept their relationship a secret a little longer, at least until Pentagon and Triple H was more established in the industry. One Reddit user commented, "I wonder sometimes if Dawn regrets how that went down. Like you said, Hyuna will be fine regardless. Her brand is established at this point, but it doesn't seem like Dawn is going to have the same opportunity." These posts were shared 2 years ago in 2020, and it seems like the general opinion on their relationship still stays the same. Another user on Reddit mentioned that this whole time people have been supporting underrated Korean artists, Dawn is never mentioned among them. They said, "That man is an amazing performer, dancer, producer, and rapper, and all people want to call him is Hyuna's boyfriend." A different user commented on that post that since Hyuna has been established in the industry for way longer than Dawn, the difference between their popularity is to be expected and something almost normal. So why is it so hard for Dawn to finally break through in the industry and gain the success he honestly deserves? The next possible reason is Dawn's agency, P Nation. One stan account for Dawn on Twitter tweeted, "Might be controversial, but I feel like the only reason people can say Dawn is reduced to just being Hyuna's boyfriend is because P Nation doesn't do enough." The person pointed out that the agency almost never sends him to participate solo in variety shows, they don't promote his collabs or his achievements. On Reddit, one user shared their theory that the reason why P Nation signed Dawn along with Hyuna is because P Nation was really going after Hyuna and signed Dawn as well because publicly they became one identity at this point. While the other user is happy about Dawn and Hyuna's relationship, they can't help but feel disappointed at the lack of support and promotions P Nation has given Dawn throughout the years. They also pointed out that the only comeback Dawn had in 2021 was Ping Pong with Hyuna, which they consider a problem. While Hyuna and Dawn work really well together as artists, Dawn should have been given individual opportunities to show off his talent as a solo artist. The lack of promotion on variety shows is also a problem, and if Dawn had more exposure through these programs, it could really help his career. One thing that's important to remember is that at the end of the day, Dawn really seems to be building his career with Hyuna by his side and doing all the projects together. While it's valid to be concerned about Dawn's potential being wasted, the only person that could be blamed is his agency. It doesn't really make sense why P Nation doesn't try harder to promote Dawn better when they only have 8 artists, including Dawn, under their label. There's also the possibility that Dawn doesn't really want to make it big, but just wants to keep making music. He might not even be interested in becoming extremely popular either. The only thing that matters is that Dawn seems to be content with where he is right now and doesn't seem unhappy about his career. Truthfully, he and Hyuna seem to have a lot of freedom to showcase their relationship with their fans. Don has also been able to do things he probably wouldn't have been able to do if he stayed under Cube Entertainment, like showcase his new tattoos on his fingernails on his Instagram. On the other hand, Don shared photos of him smoking a cigarette on his Instagram, and it drew some negative reactions from netizens. At the title says Hyuna's boyfriend Don, so truthfully, the media play a huge part in Don's identity being reduced to Hyuna's boyfriend only. There's nothing their fans can really do about it because the media knows very well that Hyuna's name sells, as bad as it sounds. At the end of the day, Don seems to be enjoying his life to the fullest, and he doesn't seem to care too much for his celebrity title. But when the industry lets go of someone this talented, it's hard not to feel frustrated. Despite having the it factor and much potential, Samuel Kim faced heartbreaking mistreatment, a devastating elimination from a popular survival show, and a bitter legal battle with his former agency. But that's not the whole story. Since he was young, Samuel Kim showed lots of talents and had a charm that nobody could ignore. Born in Los Angeles, Samuel started his journey in the industry when he was very young. At the age of 11, Samuel made his first public appearance as a trainee under Pledis Entertainment, appearing in the live broadcast series 17 TV with the other trainees of the company, including the 17 members who he's very close to this day. He would have made the final lineup, but considering his age and his mother allegedly being against him debuting so young, he eventually left the company in 2013. Joining Brave Entertainment in 2014, Samuel made his official debut a year later at the age of 13 as part of a hip-hop duo named One Punch with rapper One, while he took Punch as a stage name. Their debut came with the single Turn Me Back, which was featured on the album titled The Anthem. The duo had a very short-lived career though. Their debut flopped to say the least, and the company pretty much gave up on promoting them after that, causing them to disband after only 8 months when One joined YG Entertainment. Later on, Samuel openly shared that the disbandment of One Punch led to a major personal struggle for him. We must keep in mind that he was extremely young when it happened. Samuel reflected on his past and confessed, "One Punch's disbandment was a crisis in my life." When the host asked if he still stays in touch with One, Samuel replied that he's unable to talk to One as they're both very busy. Thankfully, Samuel overcame this, and it looked like his career would only go up from there. In 2016, Samuel did a collaboration with American rapper Silento and released a single Spotlight, securing them an award for global collaboration at the 26th Seoul Music Awards. That's not all, as Samuel joined Silento on tour in the US later on, which was a significant time in his career. He was only 14 years old and was already doing collaborations with Western artists. The company seemed to have noticed his potential and probably also wanted the public to see that Samuel had much more to offer than he had shown so far. That's why in 2017, he took part in the second season of survival show Produce 101. From the very beginning, he got tons of support and love from the viewers and fans, becoming one of the most popular trainees to take part in the competition. He even ended up ranking second in the first elimination round. As he was still participating in the show, a heartbreaking story about his past surfaced by an anonymous netizen. The post in question alleged that Samuel had been mistreated when he was in school. According to the post, Samuel attended a school where students had to move between different classrooms for various subjects, carrying different textbooks with them. One day, while descending a staircase, someone abruptly pushed Samuel, causing all of his textbooks to scatter. The post further revealed that during roll call, Samuel was frequently marked absent, and when the teacher asked for his whereabouts, the entire class would unanimously claim that he had dropped out. On the rare occasions that Samuel did attend school, his classmates would intentionally play his music videos and live streams to mock and imitate him. However, during his sophomore year, when Samuel participated in Produce 101, he returned to school with an air of pride. Despite being ridiculed by his peers, he remained cheerful, believing that his introduction video was becoming popular. When this story came out, not only did netizens not empathize with him being a potential victim of mistreatment, but they actually ended up criticizing him for not realizing that he was being made fun of. Things would take a negative turn because as the show went on, his rankings went lower and lower, and he ended up not debuting at the end as he ended up in the 18th place. At this point though, he had become so massively popular that fans actually petitioned for him to be included in the group. As soon as the live announcement of the final lineup was made on June 16th, Samuel, along with one other contestant, became worldwide Twitter trends. The fact that the two didn't make the cut angered international fans, and expressing their frustrations on Twitter was not enough for some of them. This led to a petition that was specifically created for the eliminated trainees, particularly Kim Jong-hyun and Samuel. The petition was started by Carly Campos, stating that both Jong-hyun and Samuel were highly qualified to be in 101 101 and that they should join the group. The petition called for the appreciation of their talents and criticized the discriminatory perspective towards Samuel because of his Mexican heritage. International fans were also frustrated due to the fact that they didn't have the opportunity to vote and give Samuel and Jonghyun a spot in the group. The petition aimed to create a chance for them as part of 101, despite Brave Entertainment's promise of giving Samuel a solo album. The petition got quite a lot of signatures, but it made no difference. Whatever the reason for his dropping ranks was, Samuel took his elimination pretty hard. During an interview, Brave Brothers revealed that once Samuel found out that he wouldn't be a member of 101, he locked himself in the bathroom, turned the water on, and cried a lot. The whole thing made Brave Brothers cry too, as he stated, "I started crying so much because I was really sad that I couldn't do anything for him. He's young, but he's very mature." Based on this interview, you'd think that Samuel had a great relationship with this company, but that wasn't the case at all. More on that later though. Even though Samuel hadn't made it into 101, he had built enough of a following for him to go on his career as a soloist. He made his debut as a soloist in August 2017 with the mini-album 16, which featured the title track of the same name featuring rapper Chungha. Later, in November of 2017, he released his first full-length album called Eye Candy, including the lead single Candy. In March of 2018, Samuel released his second mini-album called One, featuring the title track One, which included a collaboration with B2B member Jong Il-hoon. During 2018, Samuel partnered with Chinese singer Jo Jae-nan and participated in Tencent's The Collaboration Season 2. The duo competed together and eventually secured the first place, winning the competition. Now, you'd think that his career would be taking a turn for the better from then on, but that never ended up happening. In 2018, Samuel, who was under Brave Entertainment at the time, made an announcement that he would promote as an independent artist. However, the agency responded by stating that Samuel's decision was one-sided and they intended to take legal action. Samuel's mother and lawyer then revealed that the singer had filed a legal complaint against Brave Entertainment after unsuccessful attempts to terminate his contract, citing breaches of trust and specific problems. There were two main issues according to his lawyer. Firstly, Samuel faced problems with receiving proper accounting statements and a clear breakdown of his income despite raising the concerns multiple times. This lack of transparency led to conflicts. The second issue included Samuel's involvement in promotions for a cryptocurrency business unrelated to his contract. According to his agreement, earnings from events were supposed to be divided and additional promotion activities required separate consent. However, Samuel was unilaterally engaged in activities during an overseas event without his consent or knowledge of the contract terms. Only after receiving criticism from fans did the agency produce fake contracts to justify their actions. Alongside the contract nullification, Samuel also filed a separate criminal complaint against Brave Brothers, accusing the company of fraud, embezzlement, and forgery. Brave Entertainment then responded by following a countersuit demanding $845,000 in damages, stating that Samuel failed to meet his performance responsibilities, which had caused alleged financial losses for the company, leading to a long legal battle between the two parties. Then things got worse, as when the legal battle was still going on, Samuel's father passed away because of fatal wounds caused by blunt force trauma. Following his father's passing, Samuel posted a message on Instagram to remember him and wish him a happy birthday after the funeral service. However, he later deleted the post, but thankfully, it seems like the situation has been getting better overall. Samuel ended up winning the lawsuit 2 years after his first legal action. In November of 2021, the Seoul Central District Court ended up ruling in his favor and concluded that his contract with Brave Entertainment was not valid. After his victory, Samuel made a post writing, "I couldn't do anything during the 3 long years due to the legal conflict, and I am very happy to have won the lawsuit. I stated the truth and the truth got across." People were more than happy to see him win, especially knowing what he went through to get where he is. Moreover, they hope that his case would help other artists to take action against their agencies as well. As of June 2023, Samuel has been signed to a new company, Big Planet Made. He thanked his fans and everyone who supported him, promising to do his best as if he's starting from scratch. He hasn't made a comeback yet, but considering all that he's been through, we wouldn't be surprised if he stays on the down low for a bit longer. Good thing is that he's still young and still has some time to show people just how talented and skilled he is, and powerfully find the success that he has worked for and deserved. What do you think about this issue? Share your opinions down below in the comment section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more K-pop stories.